Hello, everyone. This is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. Today's episode will be entitled Astral Dangers and Defense. Without a doubt, the number one question and fear that preys on the mind of potential astral projectors is, what dangers will I encounter on the lower astral? I touched on this topic in one of my earlier videos, but I've had requests to discuss this topic more in depth. So here I go. Whenever I discuss the astral, I like to use physical comparisons because I believe the old occult saying, as above, so below, is a very true statement. I suspect most Astral Club members have visited large cities like Chicago, LA, London, Paris, Berlin, Shanghai. My personal favorite is New York City due to its amazing museums, shopping, and theater district. When touring New York City, if you know what's good for you, you'll try to blend in. You won't walk around holding a map or staring at your phone's navigation screen. You won't dress in a ball cap, Bermuda shorts, and wearing an I Love New York t-shirts. You won't laugh or smile excessively, and you'll wear a slightly annoyed expression while you're walking around. Why? Because you want to blend in. You don't want to stand out as an out-of-towner tourist, ripe for the picking. If you don't take this advice, expect to be accosted on every street corner by some vendor selling you real Nike sneakers and genuine multiple $1,000 handbags for only $40. At worst, you may find your wallet missing, your wife's purse stolen, or even be accosted in a physical attack. Another good strategy for staying safe in the physical world is to avoid bad neighborhoods. Driving around in bad neighborhoods looking for trouble will often net you precisely what you seek: trouble. Folks who cruise high crime areas looking for drugs or women set themselves up as easy targets for unscrupulous denizens of those areas. Even honorable people wishing to help the downtrodden residents may experience attacks by desperate and violent criminals. The lower astral has much in common with the seedier parts of major cities, albeit in slightly different forms or guises. Let's review some of the fauna of the lower astral planes. First up, what I call the mindless ghosts in the shell. That's a little shout out to any Japanese manga lovers out there. When the physical body dies, the astral body leaves. However, the astral body itself begins decaying almost immediately. Advanced souls abandon their astral forms to proceed to the next major level. Less advanced souls take longer to do the same. This process leaves a vacated astral shell that may appear animate for some time, though no intelligence remains. I suspect many of the ghosts people see going through repetitive tasks over and over are evidence of these discarded astral forms. Eventually, these astral shadows decay at varying speeds until they finally fully disintegrate. What's the bottom line? They are no danger to the astral traveler and will most probably ignore your presence entirely. Next, we have imps, elementals, nature spirits. These creatures have evolved on a separate path from humans. They are not hostile or negative in nature. Islamic lore and ancient classical writing reference these creatures. Imps and nature spirits tend to have low intelligence, but inhabit areas where nature is abundant and thriving. They act as its guardians. One time I was walking in the astral in the wooded area behind my boyhood home as a child when an imp just hopped on my shoulder for a ride. It was annoyed and surprised when I brushed it off, as I believe it was used to catching rides from either unaware physical beings or sleepwalking astral projectors. These are astral projectors who are unconscious and are not aware of their surroundings. Elementals can be found in forest fires, soaking up energy as wind elementals, thriving in the swirling currents of storms, tornadoes, hurricanes, and the like. Bottom line, if you don't mess with them or their home turf, they won't bother you. Next up, Earthbound human spirits. Now, this is where folks start getting a little bit more concerned when they're learning to astral project. Now, these are spirits of very violent drug, alcohol, and sex-addicted people who died but refused to turn away from the physical plane to progress and instead remained stranded in their own private hell in the lower astral planes for some time. My predominant reaction to these types is pity. As a rule, they're angry, depressed, lost, confused, envious, and devastated by their current predicament. They want to fight, but their blows don't bother their physical enemies. They want to get drunk, high, or have sex with their physical acquaintances. But everyone they knew now ignores them, and their favorite poisons of choice are beyond their reach. Some may be unaware that they've even passed on. Many times they will ignore your presence as they might ignore guiding entities offering them assistance. Other times they may attack as a way to express their anger and frustration at their present predicament. Bottom line, they may launch an attack if you're in the sphere they consider their own. Bars, corner hangouts, sex clubs, their home, etc. Normally, they won't leave their comfort zones. If they were the curious, wondering type, they probably wouldn't be in this situation in the first place. Lastly, here we have a category that I call shadows, demons, astral parasites. These entities are relatively rare on the lower astral. They are inhuman intelligences who thrive on negative energies of fear and hate. They are repelled by love, joy, and positive emotions. If you wonder about the lower astral long enough in a state of fear, depression, hate, or envy, you may eventually pull these entities towards you like flies to sugar. Bottom line, they may attack or leech energy from vulnerable astral projectors. Let's get into astral projection threat mitigation strategies. I think that sounds pretty fancy. There's 4 basic strategies here. The first is avoid. The second is evade. The third is retreat. And the fourth is fight/call 911. During my military training, the above strategies were stressed to deal with enemy threats when shot down or stranded in hostile territory. They work well when dealing with astral threats as well. Number 1, avoid. Until a recent adventure in Eastern State Prison that I described on this channel, was imprisoned by an angel, In many hundreds of astral projections, I hadn't encountered any lower astral threats in a very long time. Why? Because the second I leave my house, I think loving, joyous thoughts to raise my vibratory level. I pick a spot in the sky and I will myself there. Once flying at this higher astral vibratory level, I am beyond the reach of the vast majority of lower astral threats. Easy peasy. Number 2, evade. Now, you've tried to avoid these lower astrals and it's worked most of the time, but now you're in a situation where you've been sighted. So let's talk about evasion. If you have attracted these lower astral folks, you can easily get away just by fleeing elsewhere. Launch yourself into the sky or will yourself to another time or plane. I've used this strategy several times to shake pursuers. Robert Monroe, in his series of astral projection books, mentions a game of follow the leader played by advanced entities, where the leader shifts in time, space, dimension, and you must follow his energy signature to keep up. Number 3, retreat. If you're listening to this video, you have a physical body and an astral cord connected to your astral form. If you feel threatened on the astral, just wish to return to your physical body and you'll find yourself safely ensconced a second later. Simple. Lastly, fight/call 911. Civilians always think that fighting is the first strategy employed by the military when confronted with an enemy. However, any military vet will tell you that unless you are secure in the superiority of your forces over the known assets of the enemy, the above 3 strategies are always better courses of action. I believe this philosophy is doubly accurate on the astral plane. Let's assume for a moment, however, that all else has failed and you need to fight off an attacking astral threat. What can you do? First up, quell your fear. Only a bold, fearless attitude will do now. Concentrate on extending rays of light from your body with whatever loving feelings you can generate in this situation. Most attackers will recoil from this assault. Note, some imaginative folks dress themselves up in astral armor and use very elaborate means of attack and defense. While these can be very entertaining to read, they aren't strictly necessary to accomplish the task at hand. Perhaps I'm just a minimalist, though. I remember once I was visiting an ancient temple in the astral in Thailand. And this temple, I think it was virtually abandoned. It was covered in vines. It was kind of partially hidden by greenery, and stone had fallen. And when I went inside, I sensed a very dark presence there. And it started to snake, and I use that expression very deliberately. It started to snake its way towards me. And I could have retreated very easily, but instead I decided to try out my astral defense mechanisms, and I extended my hands and projected pure love as a beam towards this entity. As the beam struck the tentacle that was winding out towards me, it recoiled violently and shrunk back into the corner, about the size of a small poodle at that point. So love is a very potent weapon in the lower astral. Another strategy is religion. If you have religious beliefs, prayers like the Lord's Prayer for Christians can also be effective. When I was a kid, I was raised as a Christian. I used that once when I was in an area that had some questionable shadow-type creatures. And I wasn't more than a quarter of the way into the prayer when they took off like a bat out of hell. Last up, calling for help. Requesting the aid of your guides or ascended higher entities. In Abrahamic religions, we call these things angels. As a child, I had a shadow entity that stuck to me like gum on a hot summer sidewalk. He didn't attack. He just followed me around. Eventually, I decided to call upon the Archangel Michael to chase him away. Michael appeared, armor and sword in hand, and my shadow friend disappeared, never to reappear. Conclusion. Just as in the physical plane, there are threats on the astral plane. However, most people do not lock themselves in their homes, never venturing outside for fear of a possible attack. There are many incredible experiences to be had on the physical plane. So with a little bit of knowledge and caution, you go out every day on the physical plane and you go on vacation, you go to work, you go shopping, you do all the normal things that you do in a given week, even knowing in the back of your head that you are potentially exposing yourself to threats. The astral has many, many amazing experiences available to you. And in some of my prior experiences, in my videos, I have related those to you. The astral can be an extraordinarily safe place to visit as long as you have the knowledge from the books you've read, the videos you've watched, hopefully like this one, and a little common sense abilities to navigate in that particular plane of existence. Well, that's the video for this week. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, please hit the like button. If you have some folks who you think might appreciate videos like this, please share it with them. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that and smash that bell button so that you'll be notified whenever a new video comes out. And I very much enjoy your comments and questions. They're extremely intelligent, and I just really appreciate the time that you're taking to leave them for me. If you want to visit the website, it's astralplaneclub.com. And as always, I will see you on the astral plane.